Hi friends, it's Tracy from the Financial Freedom Diary, and today we're back to finish the last step of my forecasting for the month of March, and we're going to be filling out my allocated spending plan form. Off to the side, I'm going to have my monthly cash flow plan form. I'm going to have my calculator white out and ink pen just in case I have any mistakes. I think I told you guys in the video I had to put on the screen. My rent is $990.95, and I said $990.85, and so I was off 10 cents, and that's going to affect my debt payment. It's going to go down to $466.94. So with the allocated spending plan, the objective is what check is going to cover what. So I hope that makes sense. I don't split my bills in half. I know some people do, but I don't, and so I just try to say, okay, what check is covering what bill, and I put it in that category. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing below. And if you're not new, hey to all of you, and thank you all for watching and sticking out with me. I know some of you guys have been with me since I uploaded my first video, and thank you so much for all your input and your encouragement and sharing your victories with me. I like celebrating with you guys because it does help me. So I'm going to stop babbling and let's get started. So I've already put my income up top, and the $70 is the amount from the rebates, which was $20, and savings from my cash envelope from February, which hasn't ended. So, and actually, you know, putting that up there actually helps me, and I should have gone ahead and wrote through these, and I apologize for doing it here. So I get paid twice a month for those who are new to my channel, and so I do 2 columns on this form. And so what I'm going to do per column is figure out what this check is going to cover my paycheck number 1, which I'll get on 2/29. I guess I need to get back in frame. And then the second paycheck, which is on 3/15. And so gifts, I know I normally get 80.57. I normally take a 80.57 per paycheck. This is an old withdrawal that goes to the credit union. I know I need to take out 27, I think it was 51 or 6, no, 81. 27.81, because that's now going to go to subscriptions. And so this very first one for my gifts is going to be 52.76. And then my sons will get 60. And my rent is going to be $990.95. Sorry, I had to look up and make sure I was still in frame. And I don't pay utilities out of my very first paycheck. I pay all of this out of this second paycheck. Now, if you know that, like I know that, you can go ahead and fill it out now, but I'm not going to do that. So if you've never done this form before, what you'll do is take your income. So in my case, it's $25.85.92. Subtract out what's going to my gifts, which is 52.76. And you'll write the remaining balance here, 25.33.16. So that's what I have left to spend. Subtract out $60, 24.73.16. Subtract out 990.95, and then I'll have $1,482.21. And if you had more on this side, you would keep going, but I'm actually done on this particular page. So I'm going to change. Now here, I do my cash envelopes, and I should put the date up here so I'll remember to write in the right column. But I do my cash envelopes out of my very first paycheck, and so it is $380 $125. And I'm looking over here, since I'm taking all of them out of one check, I'm just looking here to see what was the number that I had there. Restaurants is 40. And so if I were splitting this, I would have to put half here and half over here to remember what. But I used to do that, but I just was like, I'd rather just nail one paycheck and then make a bigger debt payment out of the second paycheck. Okay, so now I'm left with $1157.21. Subtract out 40, and now I have 1117.21. Clothes is a sinking fund. My clothing is a sinking fund. Cleaning and laundry is 45, and that's a cash envelope. So I'm subtract out 10. And I found that even though it's really simple math for some categories, it's best for me to write, do the math and put it down here, because you can get off if you don't. If you have a friend who's new and want to learn how to budget, sometimes they miss categories. I know I did. This form helped me so much because it had things on there that I didn't think through. So for my gas is 50, and I do split this one per paycheck, 50-50. And it'll help jog their memory for those transactions that they forgot that they pay. And so this one's repairs and tires, $75. So $937. $937.21. And then the last thing I got down here is my medication sinking fund, and that's $10. And that's $927.21. And so sometimes I have friends who will ask me questions, and that'll be some of the stuff I hear is I can't figure out, or I can't remember all the things that come out of my check and where I spent my money, and so it's like I'll go find these forms, and so I'll print them and then give it to them, so that way they can help themselves and keep their numbers personal, because that's one thing I don't, even though I share on YouTube my numbers, I don't get in other people's business like that. Health insurance, even though I am pretty nosy, $11.22. Renter's insurance is $25. My auto insurance comes out like on the 28th of the month. Identity theft, that comes out per paycheck, and that's $3.48. And this, I'm just going to abbreviate this, and that's my insurance sinking fund. Now I'm going to go through this section here and finish out my cash envelopes. Look, I did not do the math. I'm just skipping on. Did I do the math here? Yeah, $927.21. Luckily, I didn't write on both sides, and I can see the numbers through the page. So $915.99. But I did find that when the person is younger, especially like talking to my kids, EveryDollar works better for them. And then learning how to goal set and stuff like that for the things, learning how to goal set and remembering why they're doing whatever it is that they're doing. We'll have casual conversations. And a lot of times, since I know my sons are competitive, I like to tell them, hey, in my sinking funds, I have X amount of dollars, and watch the switch with them get turned on, because they're better savers than I am. Now, household. Okay, I take out $50 here, about to write in the wrong column. $2.99 for my subscriptions. And if, let's say, you give your kids an allowance. An allowance to me is not welfare. An allowance to me is money you give to your kid because they earned it doing something that's not a requirement. Like, like cleaning your room to me is a requirement. It's not optional. But doing the dishes, everybody uses the dishes. So it's like you give them money for those types of things to me, because my kids always earned it. So I was always baffled by people who say that is welfare, and I'm like, that word does not mean welfare. It only means welfare if you say that's what it means in your house, but it doesn't mean that in the next person's house. Okay, so we're going to subtract out $50, and $797.51 is what I have left. But if I had allowances to get out, it would go in here. Like I would just cross one of these off and put in my kids' allowances and any back to school sinking funds, which I wish I had known how to do that kind of stuff back when they were in school. That probably would have made my life so much easier. Activities and stuff that they do. $756 after I subtract out my subscription sinking fund. And then I'm going to take $100 for me. And it's $656.71. But it would all go right here. This form was what kind of clarified what I was missing when I created my first budget. There was such a disconnect. I couldn't figure out what it was. And this was part of the homework that we got in FPU. And it was eye-opening. It took me hours to actually complete the form. And once I got it done, it was just such a shock. And then it was like, so that's how it worked, and it was how I figured out how I was overdrafting my account. It was the way I thought how my checks worked. So in my head, I had one way that they worked, but they actually needed to work in a different way. I think this is J. Can't remember the numbers here. I guess if I just look at my monthly cash flow plan, I8 and J5. Sometimes I'm lazy. J5. And so out of this check, I know I'm going to take out the interest, and then whatever is left is what's going to my debt. And 608.47. And the first time I started budgeting, that stopped me from overdrafting my account. I never made that mistake before, and so 608.47 is going to go to I8. And this form right here is what cleared up whatever was going on in my head. And so now what I'm going to do is, I got this first column figured out, and you guys walk through that with me. Now I'm going to speed my way through the next one, so that way you guys are like, okay, she's already done it once. But you got the gist of how this form works. And so you can also take that to help somebody else, because it is definitely something that is a useful tool, and they can take it away from whatever you may have told them about budgeting. They can take that, go home with it, read the instructions, and follow it. And they may contact you with questions, though. And sometimes I do get questions. So now let me stop blabbering and get on with paycheck number 2. Paycheck number 2 is the one that I use mainly to pay most of my housing expenses, like utilities, cable, not cable, but internet, and I can't remember. Oh, cell phone bill and my car insurance. I'm going to write my Fed loan payoff amount on the wrong line. I'm actually putting it on the interest line, and I just drew an arrow down to the appropriate line because I didn't feel like whitening it out. Okay, so I'm done with everything, and so now I know for the month of March how both of my paychecks are going to pan out. There is one unknown factor for me, and that's about my raise. I did hear today that I'm going to get my raise. It's going to show up on my March 15th check, but I don't know how much it's going to be. I know it's a 7%, but I don't know like how the taxes are going to work out, like how all that stuff is going to go. And so I'd rather just budget without it than try to make an estimate and then have my numbers really overinflated. But this is what it'll turn out. And so I am actually done with forecasting for the month of March. And then once I get my paycheck stub, that's when you see me do my paycheck to paycheck budget. But this is part 3 of that forecasting part of my budget process, because I broke it down into what I do. And forecasting is the first thing I do by the 15th of the month. I like to have this done, and it helps me cope with the other, the rest of the month. I know I'm going to do the right thing. I have enough to cover everything, and I just feel better going into the month. So if I had to break this back down again, the first thing I do is the monthly cash flow plan. The second thing I do is I take the monthly cash flow plan, then I log it into EveryDollar. The third thing I do is fill out the allocated spending plan. And then I'll 3-hole punch these, put this in my binder, put something on it to designate that both of these forms are for the month of March. And then as everything goes, I make sure I'm doing everything according to what this plan was at this time. Any extra money, I'll reflect that actually on my paycheck to paycheck budgets. But I also go and correct my total income, especially on a monthly cash flow plan. I'll do that. But I do keep these, and I do look at them, and I do physically do comparisons year over year. So I hope that was helpful for you guys, and thank y'all for sitting through this with me. I know it's a little bit painful, but it's actually, I don't know. For me, I'm a constant worrier, and so it helps me. I do all the things so that I don't go back to where I was before 2017, because I was like in a really bad place, and because of the emotional issues I was dealing with, the death of my mom, I tanked my money at the same time because I took my eye off of what I should have been doing, which was paying back those student loans quickly. So thank you all for watching, and you have a super fantastic morning, afternoon, and evening, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.